There we go.
But as I was saying, a lot of times the no sleep, the bouts of no sleep will come about from, like, let's say in the afternoon, I do a bunch of urine rubbing in the sun. I'm so highly energetic, like and I'll do like some urine swishing with it and drinking aged urine. And I just get so much energy. I'm like, there's no way I'm sleeping tonight. And so I'm like, guess we're doing a bunch of, doing some urine enemas tonight. And like, I just am like, those two practices alone, along with drinking it and doing the urine swishing, I'll just be so energetic. I'm like, there's no way I'm even gonna sleep.
I've noticed when I do because I'm lazy, I guess, and I use the tube, like Monica you said, to the travel syringe, and I've been doing it every day consistently for a few weeks now. And I find the best time to do it in a way is at nighttime, just before bed, because I get the best sleeps. It's almost like the liver. The job of the liver, I guess, and it peaks at 2 a.m. I think they say, according to Ayurveda. So it's really busy when you're sleeping. But if you do whatever you put in the colon goes straight to the liver too, the hepatic portal vein. So it's a really good practice for leading less sleep. I'm waking up early. I'm feeling much more brighter. It's like a nice hack to do an enema just before bed with the aged. It's phenomenal. Even a small amount, like.
Oh yeah, definitely. For me, if I'm gonna actually try and sleep, the smaller amount the better. If I do a larger amount, like I'm just so highly energetic that it's like I don't even want to sleep. I'm like I'm so energetic, I just want to work on my purpose and go walk around at night and focus on my spiritual growth and do meditation and focus on that pineal gland and releasing DMT at night and everything, and instead of sleeping. Although when it comes to no sleep, like I was saying last time, it's a very intuitive thing, and it's not, I'm never trying to say that you shouldn't ever sleep. It's just that sometimes it might be beneficial to not sleep, and I've found so much benefit in not sleeping. It's really intense. Like I was telling you in text the other day how it can really, or maybe this morning it can really bring about a very lucidity. Like I feel more lucid, like my brain works better the next day after doing no sleep. And it's definitely, but at the same time, resting when we're healing is very important. And so
true.
I
got sick recently and I needed loads of sleep. I guess I was COVID positive, and I felt really tired and I felt like I needed to rest. Like I needed loads of rest. So
it's important to know, and if you know you need to rest, don't be doing any sort of no sleeping like that. Get your rest. It's a very powerful healing practice, and there's nothing wrong with sleeping. Like a lot of times I'll post about no sleep and people are like, so you just hate sleep? And I'm like, no, I just realized that I have different programs that I have active in my body, and I benefit from
I think I love your focus on it, because I think it's not talked about in the communities, and I think it actually is a conspiracy, because I'm all down for sleep. I mean, Matthew Walker wrote a great book, Why We Sleep, and I get it. I guess stage one for the masses is get more sleep, because I mean, I don't feel for them that don't do the pranic lifestyle or eating rubbish. I don't think it's an advantage for them. I do think they need more sleep, but that's only stage one. I think the stage two of the conspiracy is, but we need, because we've certainly learned, me and you and others, that when we fast or do little intermittent fast, we need less sleep than what they officially tell us. So all these things are giving us clues and you're taking it to an extreme level that I like. Maybe there is superpowers that can be accessed through eating better foods and needing less sleep, and then consciously staying awake for like 24 hours to 36 hours. Maybe that is the conspiracy, that they don't want you to access. So they tell you need these things, and it needs to be 9 hours a day. What the fuck?
Well, they do very much a fear around it, where they're like, well, if you don't sleep your 8 hours, then you get sleep debt and you cause yourself permanent brain damage and blah 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 blah. And I'm like, if you're living a certain lifestyle, then if you're eating a lot of cooked foods and these foods that need to be need a lot of antioxidant power from melatonin and need all those sleep restorative chemicals, then absolutely it
Yes.
can be very, very detrimental to not get your sleep.
Yes.
But if you're living a proper or a lifestyle of chronic lifestyle, eating in a manner that causes you to not need quite as much regeneration,
Yeah.
then you can certainly, in my experience, have plenty of benefits from doing no sleep experiments. And you know, I actually have quite a few friends that I've gotten connected to, or you know, that'll talk to me about it after my posts, and they're like, you know, I have the same experiences.
Yeah.
And you know, it's very intense how it's like you're saying this isn't talked about enough.
Yeah.
And so people don't feel comfortable talking about it because they're you know, having these experiences, but then also hearing, oh, you need to sleep, you need sleep, you need sleep.
Yeah.
And so they're like, sometimes people like feel bad about it. And that's one of the nice things about my posts is that it opens up this dialogue where people are able to have a safe space or a safe person to bring up their experiences and say, hey, you know, this actually resonates with my experience.
Yeah, so I'll share as well that
you know,
Lee Alkalizer, you know, is also loving your posts about sleep. He's told me a lot about them and seen them, and he does it himself. I don't know, he goes and he says he can hear spirits. He can hear other, I think you said this to me before, and he concurs with you and says he's heard spirits and he can communicate with other realms much easier when he doesn't sleep for 24 hours plus.
I also, so my like clear hearing, my psychic hearing activates, and I'll start like if I get into delta mode, like I'll start hearing like people's unconscious thoughts around me, or like I'll have like a question in my head, and like I'll get an answer from someone that I know. And a lot of times I don't think they're even consciously answering. It's just like I'm tapped into the subconscious mind and getting these responses from people's subconscious minds, because like I'll bring it up to them and they're like, no, I didn't notice that, or you know, or anything like that. And so I'm almost positive what's happening is I'm tapping into like psychically communicating with people's subconscious minds, and I'll get answers to my questions or guidance from people, or you know, I'll be teaching about a subject. You know, I'll be making like a post or talking to someone about a subject that I learned from someone else, and like I'll hear their voice come through and like say the words that I need to say, and it's like I haven't heard them say it in that specific way, but it's coming through and I'm hearing their voice as I'm talking it. Like,
whoa.
And
do you know
really,
their voice when you hear it? I mean, you must have heard their voice, I guess.
Yes, yeah. If I've heard their voice, then for sure I know. Sometimes I'll just be laying in bed in delta state, not actually fully asleep. And hearing other people around me, like the collective's thoughts. And like I'll just sit here like meditating, being like bombarded with a bunch of people's thoughts, and I'm like, I know these aren't my own. I don't have any reason to think about this stuff, and a lot of it, like, I don't even there's not even thoughts that like.
That must be so odd. So literally, when I mean, that's been one of my dreams, to get inside the head of another person. You're saying you've experienced, I mean, the thoughts of other people, being inside their head, I guess, experiencing their reality in their little world.
Right. Essentially, so my understanding of it is that our thoughts produce electromagnetic energies that go out into the world around us, and you know that those thoughts ripple out. And so my cousin, who doesn't even do urine therapy or really the no sleep stuff, but she's very spiritually awake. She last year actually started developing this ability to start hearing people's thoughts, and like if she's in someone's auric field, those thoughts are in your auric field. So whatever you're thinking about, like that's in your auric field, and when you interact your auric field with another person's auric field, if they have this ability to tap into those thoughts, they'll start hearing them. And like she'll be driving around, and you know, if she's got this ability turned on, and you know, because she can kind of turn it off and on now that she's really developed her ability with it. but she'll be driving and just hearing random people's thoughts, and they're like thinking about their day or thinking about things that happened or stressed about things, or you know, sometimes they're like very loving thoughts, but a lot of times on the road people are very road ragey, and so there'll be like road ragey thoughts that she hears, and you know, and she hears their voice. Like we were at a restaurant getting some salad, and we were sitting here eating some salad, and she hears like it was a female's voice, and it was like she was really upset about things and what's going on in her life, and she's like, you know, she gets sad and feels for them and sends them lots of love, and you know, so you know, definitely, you know, our thoughts are real things, and you know, I definitely, you know, one of the things that I've noticed myself, like we've talked about, like the urine therapy is very powerful for activating our psychic abilities. And even just recently, someone on Instagram, I can't recall his specific Instagram tag, he made a post and he was like, I just recently had someone message me trying to sell me their urine. This lady says, oh, my urine's got magic powers and it made me really psychic. Do you want to buy some? And he's like, everyone's urine has magic powers and can make them psychic. Why would I want to buy your pee when mine does the same thing for me?
Yes, exactly.
And so, you know, it activates our intuition. We start becoming incredibly intuitive. And you know, and it activates our spiritual abilities, and you know, that's what it comes down to with the Shivambu awakening. It literally awakens our awareness. It brings consciousness to our body.
Does. So once, you know, I do those. Do you know, Carsao, I do 10-day Vipassana meditation retreats every year now for the last 3 years. I'll do the 4th one this year. Nice. It's amazing. But anyway, this last one I did with my ex-partner, what happened was I took some aged urine into it, and I drank it before, and it transformed my meditation sessions. But here's the thing: one night after the 10 hours of meditation a day, I decided I had a bit to on a spray bottle, but not much, and I sprayed a very small amount on my forehead. And all of a sudden, because I'd done so much meditation, it was day 7 or 8 near the end of the retreat, I felt like a chakra move from here to the top of my head, just because I rubbed a little bit of HP on me after purifying myself doing meditation nonstop. It showed me the power of aged urine massaging like you wouldn't believe. I couldn't believe I was experiencing a body movement, a chakra move physically just from a tiny bit of aged urine on my forehead. It was incredible.
Energy. That's amazing.
Yeah.
It's fascinating.
I encourage everyone. There's another little trick as well. When you do plant medicines, even if you microdose magic mushrooms or LSD, do aged urine when you microdose and you mess about with plant medicines, and you'll see the power of age then. It's really powerful. Amplifies like you wouldn't believe.
Oh yeah. Oh yes.
Even weed, I mean, dare I say it, even when you're smoking quality weed or eating weed chocolates.
Absolutely. Oh yeah. Well, you know, the gal that I've been helping with, and she's been experimenting with urine therapy. She smokes quite a bit of weed for her symptoms and stuff.
Cool.
And so that she can feel good. And like one of the first times she drank her weed, she was like, she felt so good. She was like, I feel like I just smoked a joint. And I'm like, well, that the cannabinoids are definitely in your pee and affecting you. And then there's the other effects that the urine itself is having on your consciousness, on your awareness, on your mental state, on your energy levels, that like I get high just from aged urine.
Me too.
You know, it's honestly, and I prefer that high over most substances. Like I almost never smoke cannabis anymore. Like that was I smoked cannabis since I was almost 14.
Wow, yeah.
Until about 22 years old, a lot. And then I had started noticing like deleterious effects because I was smoking it so much all the time. Like I felt numb. I didn't feel like myself. My thoughts weren't clear. Like, and I was talking about it with one of my friends that I had met at work, and he said the same thing, that he used to smoke weed a lot, and he decided that he didn't want to keep in this mentally unclear mindset that he was in, and stopped smoking. And he was like, I feel way better not on weed. And I was like, you know what, I'm gonna go ahead and really push into this not smoking weed. And I honestly, I think it's very important for younger people to be aware of that their brain is still forming until they're 25. And even then the brain is plastic, and so even then you're still forming your brain and your consciousness and expanding your awareness after that 25. But the science, it makes sense to me that the science talks about how your brain is literally not even fully formed until you're 25. And so if you're constantly feeding your brain substances, psychedelics, and cannabis and different things, alcohol especially, when that is forming, and if you go all the way till 25 and past that and you're still doing it, like, you really hinder your brain development, I feel like.
Agreed.
And, I think it's very important for people to realize that these substances are, in my opinion, probably better used when you're more mature.
And when you're more cleansed in a funny way, you shouldn't use them, I feel, as much to cleanse as when you're on your journey and you're cleansed and then you go for it. I've certainly noticed the power of these things, these plant medicines, when used sporadically, when you're really clean, they amplify like you wouldn't believe. When you're
just microdosing. Just microdosing when you're clean, that's some very powerful stuff, and I had been reading up on like ayahuasca, and there's like and just different plant medicine teachers in general. And there's a I forget where, but probably shamanic tribes in the Amazon and stuff, they teach to have a very clean diet, getting the salts out of your diet, getting the toxins out of your diet, eating more fruits and clean waters, and fasting and getting your body clean makes your body is an alchemy lab. Your body is a chemistry alchemy lab, and you can't do chemistry and alchemy properly without a clean lab. You're going to get skewed results when you don't have a clean lab, when you start introducing alchemical substances such as plant medicines like DMT and cannabis and mushrooms into your body. If it's not clean, you're going to have results that are that of an unclean lab. And I think it's very important to be having a nice clean alchemical chemistry lab, which is your body. And we always talk about the Urine alchemy, and how that is, to me, one of the most powerful ways to prepare your lab is some urine fasting, but also fasting, distilled water fasting, eating a lot of fruit, and just cleansing your body for these alchemical experiments that we might be doing. Nowadays, I used to smoke so much weed that it took a gram to get much of an effect. It took hits and hits. I don't know exactly about a gram, but I could easily smoke a gram in a day and barely feel anything. Now I have to microdose that stuff. Like if I smoke too much, I'm like, I just get uncomfortable, and I'm just like, I don't like this feeling very much. I don't want to smoke this much, and so, like, if I smoke too much, I will literally just stop smoking for weeks, months even, before I even attempt to smoke again. And like, similar with the rapés, that I think was kind of what I was studying on. Was there's all kinds of different blends of rapé, and they'll put different plant teachers in there, and that was where I was learning about that they recommend having your body really clean so that you are able to properly translate the messages of these plant teachers. And so I in 2019 and 2020, I was using quite a lot of rapé. I, after doing it quite a lot. You know, I just intuitively stopped using it. And you know, nowadays I have a pretty good batch of a few different blends from Spirit Florida Rising. It's this company that does a lot of different Hop-A blends. They've got some really good Hop-A blends. They do like ceremonial grade cacao and other different herbs and plants and stuff like that. And nowadays, you know, I only use Hop-A when I really feel called to it, you know, like, so such as I'll be just literally, I feel called to it. Like my heart is like, hey, you know, I'd like to do some Hop-A today, and I'll do a small microdose of it and learn what I need to learn from it, and then continue on. You know, it's like I think I can't remember his name, but one of the spiritual teachers of that a lot of people quote a lot. He says, you know, when it comes to psychedelics, when you get the answer, when you get the answer to your question, hang the phone. You know, you don't want to keep calling these teachers, bugging them, because they will literally just stop talking to you. You know, if you are constantly smoking weed, constantly doing psychedelics, you will literally just, in my experience, you will literally just, it just stops working. And that's why I'm a big proponent of doing it only when I feel called to. And when I feel called to stop, then I stop, you know, and that I do my best to not go overboard on these things. And and that leads into with Shivambu too. You know, we can, I feel like it's very beneficial, and I know you've talked about it before, it's very beneficial to take breaks from it, because we can take it for granted. You know, we take these teachers for granted. And Shivambu's probably one of the ultimate teachers, in my opinion, because it's literally produced by you for you. And there to teach you and help you awaken. But if you're constantly using it, you forget. You start taking the teacher for granted. And
I also think it plateaus a little bit. It starts to lose its effect if you do it all the time.
It certainly can. It certainly can. And so that, I think it's very powerful. And it seems like we almost intuitively do that, where, you know, I know you've talked about it, how, and I'll do the same thing, where I'll be doing it pretty frequently, and then just like suddenly I'm on a 3-day break from it before I start doing it again, or a month-long break even sometime. And I think it's very helpful to remind ourselves how powerful this stuff is by taking those breaks, because then we, you know, it's not like my awakening and awareness goes away when I stop using it. And so, you know, I feel comfortable with, I don't feel addicted to my urine, you know, I don't feel like that I use it in irresponsibly. I use it, I learn from it, I experience it, I detox with it, I use it as a tool. You know? And just like psychedelics and these other plant medicine teachers, they're all tools that we can use. And, you know, you can take a hammer and build a house, or you can destroy a house. And not saying that urine therapy is going to destroy your house, but if you psychedelics and substances can certainly really cause a lot of damage to us. You know, it can really mentally affect us very strongly if we don't know what we're doing with these tools. And so I Shivambu very much, and choose to take breaks. And I think it's very beneficial to know that how powerful it is, and remind ourselves how powerful these protocols are through taking those breaks.
Taken away. It's sad, but I think the world in duality is just the way the world works, you know, that you get used to something, you get used to people. That's why I think sometimes hanging around someone you love 24/7 is really hard, because you take people for granted. You take your health practice for granted if you're always doing them. It's like duality almost needs, for deep gratitude and real experience of the power of something, you need to take breaks from it. And I think we do that unconsciously. you know. And then you can talk about, then your passion comes back about the aged urine or whatever you're doing, the gratitude. And the ultimate gratitude is dying here. This is the ultimate way that gratitude plays out here in duality, because I know we don't really die, but I mean, in this incarnation, as this ego personality, I will die. So I will appreciate my life, because there's an end. There's no like constant. Like,
right, exactly. Remembering that it's life is a gift, and that we're here for learning and growing, and that this physical body could be gone tomorrow. Say a plane crashes into me. You never know.
Yeah.
You never know what's going to happen. You never know what can happen to the physical body.
Yeah.
It's very good to remember that there's you never know what's going to happen, and so to be grateful for what's happening now.
Absolutely. So I think this is a good point to conclude this. As I said, we've done 2 great ones before, and I love this one. And this was a lot about Shivambu. It's a lot about the power of non-sleep. You talked a lot about a lot of things I thought was really good. So anything you want to sum up and conclude with?
I don't really have too much. Just, I guess, I'm incredibly grateful for you spending some time with me today and letting me chat about my experiences. And I love you very much, my brother. And
love you too.
I guess just to conclude, just always be grateful and always have a loving heart, because that's the most important thing. We can do all these practices like urine therapy, fasting, eating healthy, but without that love and gratitude for ourselves and for others, where does it get us? Where does it lead us? Love is the path.
And I'll add to that, always speak your truth, because that's where the real purpose and the real, share what you know, share what you've learned from your suffering, from your wisdom.
Share your experiences. Like I actually, I just the other day, I've been going into my Facebook memories and pulling out really good old posts that I made and recycling those posts and maybe adding new thoughts to them and everything. And you sharing your story is such a powerful thing, because you never know who is going to really be affected by sharing your story. These darker parts of us, that the dark parts of our lives that we went through to get to this point. It's a lot of people sometimes look at someone who's very filled with light and love and think that they just have always been that way or something. And it's like, no, we've all gone through suffering. But suffering begets awakening. Suffering leads to awakening. And I'm very grateful for all of my experiences and all of the darkness that I went through and all of the suffering, because if it weren't for that, I wouldn't have had this amazing story to share with people. That you can go from the lowest point in your life to these really high highs where your life is amazing, and having having that gratitude and love for yourself and what you've been through, and the openness to share is very important, because you never know who's going to be affected by what you share.
And I'm sure you'd agree, Quiddy, as well. I feel like people look at me and think I was born to talk and be open, but I really wasn't. I'm introverted by nature, but through a desire to help people, you have to share. You can come out of your shell. I've come out of my shell so much. You never would have thought it, that I would be this person advocating urine therapy. And I'm sure it's the same with you. People had imagined in your past you wouldn't be the person that you are sharing. So.
Right. A lot of times I feel like people look at me and they're like, man, this guy's a yogi. He's been doing all this stuff for 20 years. And I'm like, I'm not really. Yeah, I've been awakening for the last 10 years, since 2012, and maybe a little bit before then. But, it really didn't take off to this point until a few years ago when I really, like, I had this acceleration of awakening where it was just like everything, all, and, you know, looking back, it's always beautiful because we can connect those dots and start to really build a picture of all these things that happened in our lives. And, you know, you've got this dot here, that dot here, that dot here, you know, mom died, depressed, eating like crap in the lowest point, or, you know, in some very low points. And then you start building a picture from it, and I'm like, and it's like, this is a beautiful picture. My life has been beautiful, all of it. You know, even the most miserable parts of it made me who I am today. And if it weren't for all that misery and suffering, I wouldn't be here doing what I'm doing, sharing how I'm sharing, and being able to help people grow through their suffering and their experiences.
Exactly. All right, bro. Let's leave it. Thank you so much for joining us. And thank you everyone for watching. It's been an amazing experience.